Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives. Chins up, shoulders back. Let's get after this. Welcome to the November 18th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is the number. My show, you can find it on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, heartlandsignal.com, YouTube. Email me at richard@wcpta20.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Substack, and Spoutable. You can catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, the short versions and the long versions. Joan Esposito live, local and progressive. And, of course, Patty Vasquez driving you home, the big picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. And that's why you make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. That's our digital platform, newsroom, all that good stuff. And they make things happen for us. They bring us good stories, posts, and articles. So that's why you make your way over there to share with those. Don't be selfish. Let other people know about the greatness. Why sit back and go, I've got it all. No one can have the information. Don't be like the GOP crazies right now. They want to keep it all to themselves. Share. Make your way over there because you'll find cool stuff. Like, here's one for you. This is really interesting, and we're gonna have this for you momentarily. But the folks in Pennsylvania are not joking around when it comes to this whole thing around federal money. You'll get a chance to check out an interview that we did last week with Justin J. Pearson, Democratic Tennessee State Representative that's running for House of Representatives. All kinds of good stuff over there. So, set your GPS to heartlandsignal.com, drive yourself right over there, and you'll be able to check out what we're saying. So, anyhow, today's show, well, you guys, we'll have a little bit of fun. We always try to have some fun. Seriousness and some funness. How about that? With us today will be Lucero Marquez, who's from the Center for American Progress. We'll be talking about some changes that are taking place and just some information that you guys want to know about when it comes to affordability with energy. She's got some great information there. Cliff Cash, comedian and activist, will be talking with us in the 7 o'clock hour about some events that he's going to be a part of that I think you guys will be interested in hearing more about. And Melanie Nathan will be with us. She's been with us before, civil rights activist, and really a big voice in that space. So 3 guests that I think you guys will enjoy hearing from and hearing what they've got to say about a number of important things. But right now, check this out, progressives.
If I had $230 million, I would fully fund the $8 million increase that our rape crisis centers have been asking for so that they can fully serve survivors. If I had $230 million, I would be able to cover the $3 million cost of renovating space in Suburban General to bring Special Smiles to Western Pennsylvania and provide necessary dental care for people with profound disabilities. It's raining, and that reminds me that if I had $230 million, I would spend it to adequately staff our homeless shelters so that people can actually have shelter from weather like this. If I had $230 million, I would fully fund our anti-hunger programs at the state level, state food purchase program, and the Pennsylvania agricultural surplus system by investing an additional $21 million so our friends and neighbors can actually. If I had $230 million, I would make sure that the roads across my district were paved. Let's be real. Even if I were able to pay for all of those things, I still would not have spent all $230 million. There's so much that you could do in District 20 and across Pennsylvania with $230 million.
That in case that's why I said Pennsylvania is not messing around when it comes to this conversation. That was today's version or today's episode from a Pennsylvania state representative, Kincaid, talking about, obviously, if I had $230 million, what would I do with it? And she's very, very clear and vocal about the many ways in which the money can be used differently, funding their state rape crisis centers, renovating one of their big hospitals in Bellevue, Pennsylvania, staffing homeless shelters. These are things that matter, that should matter to the United States of America. All the people that talk about, they're patriots and all this other kind of stuff and all these, we're this great country, and we are. So then if we are, then let's do great things for people that are regular, everyday, great Americans, rather than putting any kind of money toward a ballroom. To whose benefit? I mean, how does that lower the price of anything? But more importantly, you can do all kinds of comparisons and analysis. What about just taking care of things in different communities? I mean, I've done this before. I did it with the ICE budget. I've done it with this ballroom, and the money that we sent to Venezuela. I mean, come on, Republicans. Get your act together. Stop lying to yourselves. You look in the mirror every morning. I don't know what you see. And you've got to realize that what's happening, what they're spending money on, what they're wasting time and energy on, is you're at fault. You're the ones that have put these people in place, not the Democrats. And here, this is one that I'll come to you guys with in a little bit. But it's about the National Guard. We'll talk about that after this first break. But yeah, I mean, in terms of wasting money or money being spent for better things that are actually going to protect and benefit Americans, this is it's beyond wasteful. It's just lack of consideration and lack of care and humanity for people that actually need the money. It's not like, the ballroom is a waste. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of confidence. And when people talk about Washington's not working, no, Republicans in Washington are not working. Republicans in Washington are not getting things done. Because the ones that have been elected to the House and to the Senate, and we'll start there, and then we can go even down the food chain to those who are, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but to those that are in state legislatures, none of them are getting anything done for the people that they said that they would get things done for. So I like these clips. We had one yesterday from Representative Tariq Khan, and today from Representative Kincaid, both saying, what would I do with this money? What would I, if I had to spend it, what would I do? And obviously they've come up with some very, not even novel, but just effective tools that they realize are better uses of the money for the people that are the citizens of the state of Pennsylvania. So there you go. Just Emily is one of those representatives that's not afraid to speak her mind. So check her out, Emily Kincaid, and she's at, the clip that I just played is at our heartlandsignal.com website if you want to check it out, or I can send it to you. Let me know. Either way, we'll take care of you. And with that being said, we will take a little bit of an early break since we've got a packed morning as usual. The number, of course, here is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it'll take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 10 million people without destroying your credit. They can reduce your interest rates, lower your total payments up to 50% to get you out of debt fast. For a free consultation, call Consolidated Credit now. The program works.
Call 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298. Consolidated Credit Solutions Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida 33313. Licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Kansas CSO 0019051. Maryland DM 1492. Oregon DM 892. Licensed by the Virginia State Corporation Commission license number DC83. Service may adversely affect the individual's credit. Non-payment of debt may lead to additional finance charges or collections activity, including legal action. Actual interest rates, length of program, and monthly payment reductions will vary by consumer and creditor. Yours could be higher or lower. Not a loan company. We do not lend money.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show, and good morning to you guys. I just have to send a shout out. Happy birthday to my lovely wife, Ann. Today is her birthday, and I just want to send her some love. And I know there are people out there that are listening that are like, don't you dare not say happy birthday to your wife, because we know it's your wife's birthday, and we are listening. So anybody that out there were going to catch me not saying it, sorry. Happy birthday, Ann. Love you very much. Devin, let's bring them a couple of quick news items on this November 18th, 2025. The FAA is clearing airports to resume full operations. The Federal Aviation Administration ended flight cuts related to the government shutdown yesterday, clearing U.S. airports to fully reopen in time for the busy Thanksgiving travel season. Government officials announced the move after reviewing safety trends and meeting staffing benchmarks among air traffic controllers who had worked throughout the shutdown without pay. Those are some patriots there. Airlines have cautioned it could take several days to recall flight crews. The reductions had affected 40 major airports for more than a week, and a trade group anticipates a record 30 million passengers will travel for Thanksgiving. Novo Nordisk cuts prices on in-demand GLP-1 drugs. Novo Nordisk is slashing the direct-to-consumer prices for its blockbuster diabetes and weight loss drugs. Many existing self-pay patients will now pay $349 a month instead of $499 a month for Ozempic and Wegovy, the drug maker said yesterday. New patients can get their first 2 months of low-dose treatments for $199 a month. In recent days, Novo and rival Eli Lilly have both announced deals with the U.S. government to make the GLP-1 drugs accessible to more Americans. Ford, Amazon partnered to sell certified pre-owned cars. Among the items consumers can now buy on Amazon, certified pre-owned Ford vehicles are one of them. The two companies yesterday unveiled a partnership that allows shoppers to use Amazon to apply for financing, process paperwork, and schedule a time to pick up their new wheels. So, which will be covered by a 14-day, 1,000-mile guarantee. While state laws can make it challenging to bypass dealerships for the sale of new cars, pre-owned car sales are easier to navigate. Of course, earlier this year, Amazon also inked a deal to link up with selling Hertz used cars. So there you go. And last but not least, for those of you who are Apple fans, Apple is beginning its succession planning as Tim Cook ponders the off-ramp. Apple is ramping up its succession planning as after 14 years of Tim Cook being the CEO in the top spot, according to several media reports. Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering, John Ternus, is reported to be considered the frontrunner for the position. The announcement of a new CEO is anticipated after the company's earnings report late January. The transition is part of a long-term strategy and is not related to Apple's current performance, which remains solid despite some recent challenges. And one more little bit of an update or just bit of information to share with you guys when you're looking at income. Six-figure salaries are no longer the deliverer of financial stability. Gone are the days when a six-figure salary promised financial stability. In fact, many Americans earning such an income are living paycheck to paycheck, according to USA Today in a recent Harris Poll survey. Of six-figure earners, they found that 1 in 3 were, quote, financially distressed, and 2 in 3 said their income did not reflect wealth. More than half said they required twice their current earnings to achieve financial security in their minds. And while a $100,000 income sits above the national median for full-time workers, years of inflation have eroded its purchasing power. And guess what else has in recent weeks and months? Tariffs. So there you go. All right, guys, a couple of Choose Views news items this morning just to kind of kick things off and keep you up to speed on a few things that are going on in our economy and some things that are happening in our politics. All right, so some other top items to kind of walk you through. I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the representative from Pennsylvania and what she would do with $230 million. So the Texas National Guard is departing, not fully, but has departed Illinois, which is a great thing. They're going, I said this somewhat sarcastically, but there's some reality to it. They're going to warmer territory. They're going to areas where I think there's a couple things happening there. One, they recognize, as I said when we talked with Congresswoman Kelly and with others, they recognize that Chicago and the state of Illinois have stood up strong. The citizens and in some cases, even law enforcement, local law enforcement has said, no, you guys can't do that. The judges have stood up and the mayor has stood up. County officials, state legislative officials, and the governor have all stood up to this and said, no, we don't want you here. Voices like mine, voices like Mike Nellis, voices like others who've on various shows have all said, we do not need you here. Get the blank out. So to that end, they're going to places, they're going to be in other states. And that, like I said then, when they first came, I remember clearly stating this, and I still stand on this business. They don't need to be in any cities, even in states that are red, even in red states or red metropolitan areas. I don't want to see them there. I don't want to see them in a red. And the truth is, so many of our metropolitan cities, and if you look at the heat map when it comes to red and blue, the cities have and are more blue, more politically center left, if not fully left, than the, frankly, suburban and even the rural communities are. And that's not 100% in every single case, but in the majority of the heat maps that I've looked at over the years, you see that the bluest of blue cities are typically going to be, or the bluest of blue areas are going to be metropolitan areas and cities, and some of the suburban areas, and in some cases even some rural areas, but not entirely going to be always red or always blue. And some of the shifting that's taking place is indicative of people wanting to live in different parts of the country, all those things. But one thing is certain is the mayors of many of those blue cities happen to have a certain thing in common, and they happen to be of color, or in some cases, women and women of color. And now, the National Guard and ICE and all these other, sort of federal troops are trying to find their way into other cities. And the thing that's in common is that they happen to be a blue city or a city that's run by a person of color. So it's not an accident, at least not in my mind. Now, but the reason I wanted to loosely tie together something that is, I think, just bad business from the administration is going back to what Representative Khan said, and we played the clip yesterday, and what Representative Kincaid said that we played this morning. Wasteful spending by this administration, rampantly wasteful spending, or giving money to countries that are not in our corner, that would give a darn about our citizens. And then spending money to have National Guard troops be deployed in areas that they don't need to be. That's another waste from this administration. And it's well past time that we measure that and we continue to talk about that and ask, what would we do with those dollars if placed in a different column? And that's what's happening right now. That's what's not happening, but needs to happen, is more of us need to, when we're contacting our lawmakers, on a state level or certainly on a federal level, remind them that the monies that are being spent, for example, National Guard, we know about the big ugly ballroom, it's wasteful. So when you call your representatives on a state level or on a federal level, let them know we're done seeing these kinds of dollars be wasted, particularly and certainly when we had a government shutdown, which ironically, the Texas National Guard was in Illinois for 41 days. The shutdown was 40 days. So I want to hear the same, frustration from people that said, the 40 days, the Democrats lost the battle in the 40 days when I don't think that's the case. What about the wasteful spending from the Texas National Guard for 41 days in Illinois to get what done? What was accomplished? I mean, someone help me understand what was accomplished by them being here. Crime didn't go down because of them being here. And in many cases, the threat, the uncertainty, the weird feelings, all those things, none of that stuff changed. I mean, those things got, I guess you could say, for many people, it's heightened the false sense of security that the National Guard was supposed to bring. That hasn't happened. And with ICE still being in the area, and I say that in area because it's not just Chicago, there's no added sense of certainty or safety. There's more stress and trauma. So continued waste. And, I wanted to draw some dotted lines from what the two representatives in Pennsylvania are saying to this wasteful spending by having the Texas National Guard in Illinois. Devin, let's grab a call before we have our guest come on. Let's go to Paul in Seattle. Good morning, Paul. Welcome to the show. What's going on?
Hey, Rich, you're talking about the 500 blue counties that the Democrats have carried since 2016, and maybe even before that, and they are the cities and the surrounding urban areas. And these are the counties that are the Democratic base. And this is why Trump thinks he won by a landslide, because Trump won 2,600 counties across the country, and they only amount to, a little bit less than half the population. But here's the other thing. The 500 blue counties account for 68% of the economic productivity of this country. The
68%
of counties that are 68%. The Trump counties, the 2,600, which is more than 5 times as many, account for 32% of the economic productivity. This is what pisses him off. He likes to say that he won a landslide because it's more counties, but I'm sorry. Acres don't get to vote. I mean, it's people that vote.
I saw somebody posted this that said vacant land doesn't have a vote.
Exactly, and that's what it is, and that's what Tom Homan, the immigration czar, whatever this crazy drunk is, he said we're going after the 500. Well, he said made it to some despair, the out of control Democrat areas. That. Yeah. They all call them, they're just crime ridden, but this is the nation's productivity. This is Chicago, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles. I don't care. All of the cities are responsible for the productivity. The rural areas, let's face it, and it's in every state, whether you want to talk Southern Illinois, Eastern Washington, Northern Michigan, they don't, if you don't bring your job with you, there's no jobs there. Unless you don't have something. Yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, that's been true for a long time. And the people in that area, they're angry. Here in Washington State, they used to call us the 206ers. That's the area code, the Seattle area code.
Right.
These 206ers, whatever. You come over here, and they think that they don't get any attention. But I'm sorry. This is where they don't get any roads unless the tax base, and they don't get any schools unless the Seattle, metropolitan area tax base pays for them. And that's the part that the rural Trumpers don't understand is that the reason they have anything is because of the tax base of the 500 blue counties that are raising.
Here's the thing to that, Paul. They not only do they. And no, this is that finger pointing moment. But not only does that mindset not know They don't want to know. They don't want to understand the reality, because if they have, looking at that speaks to something that I've said for such a long time. It shows that the mediocrity that exists in that community, they can't run away from it. Then you can't run away from the reality that and it's just numbers. It's not that the people in those communities are better or worse people. It's just the numbers. And sometimes if you stop and look at those numbers, you go, okay, I get why people choose to live in those communities that are more vibrant, more active, more self-sustaining, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's a reality of the math. So, well, yeah, and I'll tell you, I noticed this, and we're similar vintage here, Rich. But when I say there were three kinds of people from high school. There was 1/3 of them stayed in the hood, and they never left. The other third moved down to Florida because they wanted to be on perpetual spring break. And the other third moved up north because they wanted to just hang out in the woods and smoke Marlboros and drink cheap beer and shoot their gun, in the woods. And it wasn't even their property. They're just saying, well, I don't know this. And what's happened to them at this age, they did a lot of casual labor, under-the-table work. They didn't pay into Social Security, and now they can't, split wood anymore because they're 60-some years old, and they got a bad back, and they're, pissed off because, well, wait, I don't have anything now. And their little cabin or their little cottage that they decided they thought they'd hang out and live for eternity is falling down, and they're mad because, the liberals, I always got mad when people who didn't go to would say to me, oh, college boy, when are you going to join the real world? I'm like, what makes your world more real than mine, dude? It's like, that's what kind of really irked me about some of these people from back home who didn't. And Rich, I had to pursue a college degree because, frankly, I was facing losing my eyesight. When I graduated from high school, I ran away with a rock and roll band. And it only took a couple of years for me to go, hey, wait a minute, man. The road of hard knocks was like, Mom might be right. You want to do this for the rest of your life? Maybe you got to think it, because how many bands broke up, and well, now I'm stuck. Coming back to moms with no money, right? Yeah. Paul, always great to hear from you, man. We got to take a quick break, but it's good to hear from you, and thanks for keeping us aware of these realities. It's good to talk to you. Be well. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye. Yeah. Let's take a quick break, guys. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 and WARR out of Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
We sit a lot, and too much sitting hurts even young, active people. Here's researcher Ryan Bruhlman from the University of California, Riverside.
Higher levels of sitting is associated with higher levels of cholesterol and BMI, and really what that's getting at is just sitting for a long period of time puts your body in a state where you're not burning as many calories, you're just doing things that are not promoting getting up and moving around, which is good for your circulatory system, and that helps to normalize cholesterol levels, but then also burning those calories, which is really integral when it comes to things like BMI.
He found that even for young adults who work out, lengthy sitting sessions are a problem.
For individuals that were meeting the current recommended guidelines for physical activity, but sitting for 8+ hours a majority of their day, it wasn't enough.
With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered rain showers here for today with cloudy skies and temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the east around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, cloudy skies and temperatures still hold steady. By Wednesday, mostly cloudy, high 46 degrees. Thursday, a slight chance for some rain showers, cloudy. We'll see high around 56. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 40.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and thanks for being with us this morning. Always great to hear from our good friend Paul in Seattle. He's a great supporter of WCPT and many of our programs. So shout out to you, Paul, and thanks for bringing us some morning knowledge about, I guess you could call it residential statistics. I could label it something else, but I'll be kind. We've always tried to make sure that when we talk about political issues, at least I try to merge that with what's happening with some of our social issues. And that's because, politicians make laws, whether it be on a state level or on a federal level. And in making those laws, the policy impacts everyday citizens with some of the most basic things. And one of those basic things for all of us is just being able to, heat and cool our homes. And not just our homes, but also the places of work. And so when we have high cost for electric and for gas and whatever we use for cooling, it affects not only the places that we live, but the places that we work, the places that we do business. And so with us this morning, as I mentioned earlier in the show, is the Associate Director of Federal Climate Policy at the Center for American Progress and co-author of a recent report that we want to chat about this morning, Lucero Marquez. Good morning, Ms. Marquez, and welcome to Choose Views on WCPT. How are you today?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's a beautiful morning here in Washington, D.C.
Well, okay, so why do you have to brag? It's raining here in Chicago. I mean, what's up with that?
Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm only saying that because I actually don't like the cold. I'm from Texas originally, so it's a little silly. But I was trying to be nice.
Well, you are. That's fine. Listen, I by osmosis, I always draw wherever the weather is better than where I am. Here in Chicago, we've had a great. Yeah. We had snow last Sunday night and Monday. And then by the middle of the week, we were in the 50s. By Saturday, we got up to 70. So I'm not complaining. I'm just, we always want to have better weather. And you being from Texas, I'm sure you like it when you've got those great days. D.C. can have some great weather, but in the last few years, I mean, I'd say that really the last 7 years, D.C. has gotten a lot more snow than in the previous 7 years. But it's great to have.
I totally agree. But thank you for having me.
We could, since we're talking about the weather and climate, and you're someone that definitely has I guess more than a cursory knowledge of climate. Lucero, let's take that a moment and have you just sort of break down a little bit about you and what you do with the Centers for American Progress. And then we'll get into some of the specifics around recent reports and some things that you've been, either an author of or someone that's had a strong opinions about. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your work with the center.
Yeah, 100%. So as you mentioned, my name is Lucero Marquez. I'm actually a degreed meteorologist by trade. So I really absolutely enjoy the weather and recognize that climate change is very much something that we need to prepare for and do what we can to really bring down emissions because of the threats that it has on our environment, especially with rising extreme weather events. And so us at the Center for American Progress really are striving to move forward progressive policy that, ensures not only we're moving for, clean, safe, healthy water, air, environment for all, but also recognizing that, we are moving towards a changing climate. We have a changing climate. And so making sure that we address that and put forth policies that, just address it.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit about what we do. This year, we really were trying to make sure folks understand kind of what's going on and how this administration really isn't being environmentally friendly, climate change friendly, is actually giving handouts to the industry, the fossil fuel industry, that is actually, the main cause of climate change. So.
How is the Trump administration making it worse? I mean, I know that they've backed away. He did this in his first term. And, there's things where I don't play partisan, and there's some things that I do play partisan because the data says so. In this case, in his first term, that these kinds of actions took place. And now in the second term, it's I don't know, it's at even a higher rate or a faster pace. What are the things that you sit back and say, this is literally causing people an increase in their cost, and it's also making the planet less safe?
Yeah, no, 100%. The big thing this year was the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill and it signing into law. So the One Big Beautiful Bill actually rolled back a lot of tax credits meant for clean energy. And so these tax credits for clean energy were helping to, get online faster and make sure that projects for clean energy came online faster by incentivizing clean energy projects, as I keep saying. So it actually rolled back clean energy tax incentives. And so by doing that, it makes, project developers of clean energy less incentivized to build out clean energy projects. And so we have a modeling of trends of clean energy projects likely to slow down over the course of, the next couple of years. Due to the uncertainty that the Trump administration has also caused too. And so in the end, you also have the Trump administration also subsidizing, the fossil fuel industry, particularly through expanding liquefied natural gas exports. Liquefied natural gas exports is also directly correlated with if you're expanding those, there's also directly correlated with, rising natural gas prices because we get more exposed to the global market and things like that. So those are two straight actions there that, are likely to really cause and translate to higher rising utility bills. And the Trump administration really isn't paying attention to the energy affordability crisis. It's really making worse.
So talk a little bit about, run us through this increase and that you touched on briefly. They've canceled projects for new energy supply. They've taken away support for our grid. What's the word I'm looking for? Strengthening our electrical grids. Talk a little bit about that and how you've seen this and what you see is even more problematic with what's coming our way.
Yeah, 100%. There was a report that came out, I think, yesterday that more people are falling behind on paying their bills to keep the lights on and to heat their home. And then, President Trump had that campaign promise that, he came into the office and was like, I'm going to cut your energy bill by 50%. And we put out this report that tracks how we have across 49 states and Washington, D.C., there are rising electric and natural gas bills. This is about, I think, 210 utilities that have stated that they are either raising or proposing to raise higher rates within, the next 2 years or so. And that a lot is due to, as you mentioned here, that there is part of the reasons this is going up is because the natural gas is rising, right? The price for natural gas is rising, and Trump is playing into that. Another reason is because utilities really are not investing on upgrading the grid, which is a little bit more vulnerable to extreme weather. Is vulnerable because it's also really aging, and so if you're not investing in an aging grid, it just gets a little bit vulnerable. And the last part is also because it's very much in a regional context, but AI data centers are coming online a lot more faster and a little bit unprecedented, and their energy demand is just so high that there's competition there, and so that also results to increasing bills for folks across the country.
Yeah, it's not just individual consumers, but it's also going to be, how businesses operate. Big buildings are all. I mean, we all use energy to heat and cool. and where we live and where we work and where we do business, where we shop, and all the rest. So all those things are going to be impacted by it. And this is one of the things that doesn't get talked a lot about, because we think about energy consumption and we think about it from a consumer standpoint. However, businesses are equally going to be part of the increase in usage, but also the lack of pricing that's stable and old technology that doesn't allow, meaning the grids, that the lack of investment in updated grids and stronger grids is going to put more stress on the overall system. So the negative side of this is pricing across the board goes up, which then gets, for businesses, which then gets passed on to consumers. So consumers are being double hit. They're being hit by the cost of doing business with a business that's paying more for their energy utilization, and they're in their own household. That cost is going up because of the poor performance of our energy supply grids, and then the supply chain that's been disrupted. So it's a big concern. I appreciate you taking some time this morning to chat with us. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we are talking with Associate Director of Federal Climate Policy at the Center for American Progress, Lucero Marquez. Lucero, let me ask you this question. With the work that the Biden administration did with the Inflation Reduction Act, and you spoke about this, I believe, earlier this year, the investment in manufacturing, clean energy jobs, those things were starting to take hold and show some impact. What's your sort of update on that now in terms of the Inflation Reduction Act's impact on energy jobs, and on better overall performance in the environment?
Oh, 100%. The Inflation Reduction Act, specifically, there really kickstarted a manufacturing renaissance here domestically. We're talking about, millions and millions of dollars of investment kicked off by, that public investment as well. And so because of that, you're having, a lot more projects pop up, and very directly correlated with good, high quality, unionized paying jobs. And, again, just really kickstarting off a lot of manufacturing domestically, and bringing that, onshoring that, a lot of manufacturing back home. There was a lot of good progress made with the Inflation Reduction Act. We got to have, not only good clean energy jobs, but just general manufacturing jobs as well, too, that, will have some, lasting effects. It's also significantly helped bring down, global, or not global, but domestic emissions as well, too. And so now that the Inflation Reduction Act, the clean energy tax credits specifically, have been rolled back, private investments, project developers are, really trying to, get in there, make sure that they can get their tax credits before, they end, and each one has, various phase out states too. So, trying to really get there before the tax credits expire. And some projects, this year we've seen, a really high rate of manufacturing, clean energy projects get canceled, and, jobs being lost because of new business uncertainty, and also due to the IRA clean energy tax credits rollbacks.
Yeah, that's and when she says IRA, she's referencing the Inflation Reduction Act, guys. So
thank you.
No problem at all. The investment that was made, and the decision to go down this path as a country was brilliant, and obviously led by an administration and people that were thinking about the future for the country, domestically, but also our place in the world when it comes to protecting the environment, protecting the globe. This current administration, this is what's fascinating for me. They know that it makes sense. But the fact that they are beholden to the fossil fuel industry, and Bernie Sanders talks a lot about this, probably more than any other politician, left, right, or in the middle, that the fossil fuel industry is if not the most destructive to our environment, it's certainly one of the, it's one or two, because it continues. It's not just destructive by its output, but it's destructive by the money that it plays, the part that its money plays with politicians. So I'm glad you were able to remind us of that, Lucero. So this is a question that I ask myself often, and I think other people probably ask themselves this question. So we know that there are massive companies that contribute to our global issues when it comes to global warming and climate change. We know that the science backs it up. And I'm done with the people who run around and say that, our planet's, it's always been this way. We've always had these issues. I'm done with those folks. But
I appreciate that. Yeah, me too.
I'm just done with them. I mean, wake up. We've got people like just for a moment. I got to give you your props for a moment. She's just so you guys understand the breadth of which she comes. She earned a bachelor's degree in science and meteorology from Texas A&M and a master's in public administration and environmental policy from the University of Washington. She knows what she's talking about. But she's also humble enough to recognize that sometimes folks need guidance. And I want to ask you this question. What is it that if you were sitting and saying, okay, I'm talking to a room of people who are then going to go talk to a bigger room of people and a bigger room of people and a bigger room of people, what would you tell 12 people? If you were sitting in a conference or an environment and they wanted to know, what can I take back to my constituents? Let's say you were talking to 12 politicians, 6 on the left, 6 on the right, 6 in the middle, and they said, Lucero, what can I take back to my district or let's say to my district to help the people in that district feel like they're a part of the solution, what they can be doing to help our environment get better? What would be a couple of things that you would say to the folks, those 12, politicians in that conference room?
Yeah, 100%. What our community can do to make our environment better. I think on the energy front, if I said this right now, there's still a couple of tax credits that homeowners can take advantage of that can, lower home energy costs. This is, you're fixing leaky doors and windows, or maybe you can even, if able, you can install rooftop solar. That helps you on the energy front and reduces energy demand as a whole and things like that. The energy sector is a huge contributor to emissions and the fossil fuel industry that makes up a large chunk of our energy sources as well, as you know, is polluting and things like that. So the most that we can do to reduce that on our side is incredible. So there's still a couple of tax credits that homeowners can take advantage of through the end of the year to, again, fix leaky doors and windows, install heat pumps, install solar panels, et cetera. I think another thing that folks can do is just really get involved and make sure that their representatives really understand that this matters, right? It is not fair that there is an industry, named the fossil fuel industry, that can really just emit without cost, can emit these harmful pollutants, both greenhouse gases, but also knowingly, emit a lot of toxins into our environment, into our air, into our waters, without seemingly really being affected. And so letting your representatives know that you're done with that as well is truly important, making sure that you attend the rallies that you can, sign the petitions that you can, and really, really get involved as well at a local level to let your representatives know that you're done. You're done with this, because it's so not fair.
Richard and Lucero say, we're done.
Yeah, we are. I am done. I'm done. I'm trying out here.
Yeah. What else would be maybe a third thing that you would tell those 12 people in that room to take back to the folks in their district?
Yeah, another thing too, this tax credit just expired, but if you can, switching to an EV also helps you in the long term with costs and stuff like that, and then also is just a lot less. It doesn't pollute as your gas powered vehicles as well. So if you can afford to make that switch to an electric vehicle, and again that tax credit just expired due to the One Big Beautiful Bill. But if you can also make that switch, that would be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being with us this morning. And I tried to make some quick notes of the to-dos for the constituencies and things that I'll try to talk about here on my show. But thank you for being with us this morning, and thanks for the work that you do and all that that goes into the research and then putting out the reports. How can people not only find you and follow you, but maybe get access to the report that you guys just put together? Because I think a lot of people would like to, delve into that a little bit more and have some more tools to talk about. Share that with us if you can.
Yeah, 100%. And we also, the report that you're talking about, we also plan to update it, pretty regularly. And, if someone listening is noticing, hey, my utility bill is also going up, but it's not represented in this database, we also have at the bottom of our page a way that folks can submit their utility rate increases as well, and we'll get that added to our tracker too. So if you go to Center for American Progress and scroll through the issues, you can find the Energy and Environment Department, and you can actually subscribe, plug in your email in one of those boxes there too. To make sure that you get all of our updates and things like that. So they can actually get more than just that report. They can get others that you guys are working on in your particular division. Exactly. Yeah. If you also search for residents across 49 states and Washington D.C. are facing rate hikes, you'll also get the report that we've been talking about today. That's great. That's great news. It's great access, and I look forward to being able to help our listeners all over the country be able to find those kinds of reports. So I'll do my best to repeat that periodically. But go to the Centers for American Progress website, guys. There's a lot of great information there, and check out what Lucera and her team have put together. And again, thank you so much for being with us. And maybe after the new year, when we get into 2026. In January, we can talk about, we can have you back on the show and talk about other things that you're working on. And in addition to that, just some of your maybe forecasting for 2026. Does that sound okay? Yeah, that sounds incredible. I look forward to that opportunity. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us. So, Sarah, have a great day. Stay warm in D.C. since you got the nice weather there. Like what? May Chicago be incredible today. There you go. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Thank you again. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Guys, it's always good to have folks. I mean, and I, when I talk about having people on who do this kind of work, the work that they do is so incredibly important to us because it keeps us informed. I mean, without it, it's hard to know what's truth and what's fiction because the current administration is going to lie their behinds off right now. They have no vested interest in telling us the truth about the environment. They want to make it sound like this, the people on the left, even the people in the middle, but certainly those who have the educational and experiential prowess, like Lucera does, they want to make it sound like they're the boogeyman. But we're not. They're not, because they're speaking truth about what's happening with our environment. So go to their site, check out what they've published, and this new report, I think, is really it's kind of mind-boggling. But you guys should go and take your own time and review and read it. The residents of 49 states and Washington, D.C. face increasing electric and natural gas bills. Make your way over there. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be joined by Susan Tebben, award-winning journalist with Ohio Capital Journal, Ray Long, recently retired Chicago Tribune investigative reporter and board member of the Chicago Headline Club, Joyce Vance, author of Giving Up is Unforgivable, a manual for keeping a democracy, and former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, John Mueller, creator and director of One Night in Memphis North, coming to the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts in Skokie this Sunday, one night only. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays, 2 to 5 here on WCPT AM 820 and the HeartlandSignal.com site, as well as tune in.
Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by guest host Dr. Kathy Tynas, internist at Alivio Health Services, and their guests are Phil Andrew, candidate for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois, Ellie Krug, transgender activist, author, lawyer, and host of the Illegal Trans Woman on KTNF AM 950, and her new book is Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life. Shasti Conrad, chair of the Washington State Democratic Party. She is the first woman of color and youngest person to lead the Washington Democrats, and also the first South Asian woman to head a state party in the entire country. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, AM 820, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Got to take a break. It's top of the hour. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WAR 1520 in Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
With Progressive, renters can save on protection for the things that make your place yours, even things that don't make sense to everyone.
People always wonder why I don't get rid of my guitar since I never play. But it's like, what if I actually end up taking lessons? Sure, I've had it for 8 years, but if I get rid of it, then what will my New Year's resolution be next January?
Exactly. So bundle your renters and auto and save with Progressive and protect the things that make sense to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers not available in all states or situations. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. During Donald Trump's 2024 presidential campaign, and now even, he had his rallies where he poorly danced to the YMCA. Let's take a look at all the musicians who threatened to sue Donald Trump if he used any of their music at his rallies. ABBA, Adele, Aerosmith, Andrew Lloyd Webber, The Animals, Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen, Celine Dion, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Earth, Wind & Fire, Elton John, The Foo Fighters, Free, Guns N' Roses, Linkin Park, Neil Young, Nickelback, Olivia Rodrigo, Ozzy Osbourne, Panic at the Disco, Pharrell Williams, Phil Collins, and yes, that includes Genesis too, guys, The Estate of Prince, Queen, R.E.M., Rihanna, The Rolling Stones, Spinal Tap, Tom Petty, and Twisted Sister. So if you're looking to buy some records or go see a concert, I consider checking those artists out. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix, and boom, you're missing a part. But it's okay, because whatever it is, it's on eBay, and it's guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. AP correspondent Mike Hempen reports some South Carolina lawmakers are reviewing the most restrictive abortion bill in the U.S.
A small group of South Carolina state senators will consider an abortion bill that would include the strictest prohibitions and punishments in the country. The proposal would allow judges to sentence women who get an abortion to up to 30 years in prison. It also could restrict the use of IUDs and in vitro fertilization. The proposal would ban all abortions unless the woman's life is threatened. The subcommittee of the South Carolina Senate's Medical Affairs Committee can change the legislation when it meets this afternoon. Even if the measure wins committee approval, its prospects are doubtful at best. This would be the first of at least a half a dozen legislative steps that would be needed for the proposal to become law. I'm Mike Hempen.
President Trump said he'll sell F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman will visit the White House today. The United Nations Security Council approved the Trump administration's plan to secure and govern Gaza. It authorized an international stabilization force to provide security in Gaza and approved a transitional authority. The plan envisions a possible future path to an independent Palestinian state. North Carolina Governor Josh Stein says Customs and Border Patrol agents are targeting U.S. citizens and instilling fear in Charlotte. A federal official says immigration agents arrested more than 130 people there over the weekend. In Poland, a government spokesman says evidence suggests that Russian secret services appear to have ordered the blowing up of a railway in Poland over the weekend. The line is on a crucial route that delivers aid to Ukraine. This is AP News. The Trump administration wants to make it easier for global travelers to come for the World Cup soccer tournament next year.
President Trump is announcing a FIFA pass to help people buying World Cup tickets get expedited visa appointments to visit the U.S.
And this will allow World Cup ticket holders with long wait times to opt with FIFA for a prioritized interview.
FIFA President Gianni Infantino was in the Oval Office with the president Monday to explain the new system.
America welcomes the world. America will welcome the world here.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the administration has dispatched more than 400 additional consular officers around the world to handle the demand for visas. During next year's World Cup, 104 games will be played in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Trump has made the success of the World Cup a top priority. The president once again floated the prospect of moving World Cup games if he deems a host city to be unsafe. I'm Jennifer King.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered rain showers here for today with cloudy skies and temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the east around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, cloudy skies and temperatures still hold steady. By Wednesday, mostly cloudy, high 46 degrees. Thursday, a slight chance for some rain showers, cloudy. We'll see high around 56. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 39.
That's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd. Powering lives.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Tomorrow on the show, Matt Cooper, Executive Director at the Washington Monthly, will be with us. Choose Views contributor Kurt Mellett from Hoosier Blues 63, and Jen Goldbeck, professor, computer scientist, psychologist, expert in the far-right online extremism, AI, and bad things on the internet, author of MAGA Report on Substack, will be with us. So looking forward. And make sure you check out the Choose Views podcast. Interviews, full episodes are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, Amazon Music. Search for Choose Views or visit our new podcast page at heartlandsignal.com/podcast. Speaking of great guests, this guy has become one of my new guys to just follow. I love having him on the show. He always makes sense, and he does it in a comedic way, which I think during this time, helping folks laugh and take things seriously at the same time is doable. Welcome to the show, comedian and activist Cliff Cash. Morning, sir.
Hello.
How you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Can you see me okay? I know I can see you.
Yeah.
You got very good lighting, Cliff.
Oh, thanks.
And we woke him up early this morning. He said, what are you guys doing getting me up early this morning to talk on the radio? But Cliff has always got something great to say and always got some great information to share with us. And I know that right now he's been busy as hell. That's to put it mildly. But hey, man, tell us what's been going on in your world. I know that you were a big participant in the two big rallies we've had the last few months, obviously back in June, and certainly a few weeks ago with the No Kings rally. But you've got some other stuff that you've been toying around with, and some things that are coming up, which is why it's a great time to have you on the show this morning.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, before we get into any of that, I just want to say on a serious note, Richard, I'm starting to think that Donald Trump might not be a Christian.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I know. I'm disappointed too.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
It's been a tough week.
I bet the farm that he was. I mean, I went out and stood on street corners. And I told people he's a Christian, man. I don't know what to do.
Hugh told me that Jesus sent him to #save our children. And now that I know that he Felicia, Bill Clinton, and was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it.
Well, there's well, he wrapped his head around something, so we'll see where that ends up. But man, oh man, what? So
ahead.
So yeah, I know. So actually, let's do this differently. Let's reel back a little bit, because the last 2 weeks have been like the rest of the previous 2 weeks and the previous 2 weeks to that have just been, once again, a chaos-ridden blankety-blank storm coming from the White House and this crazy administration. But on the bright side, if you want to call it that, we had some great performances 2 weeks ago with those elections on November 4th. And I think that I'm hoping people are now willing to take this stuff seriously, that we don't have a lot of time to mess around. We're already down the track, as the phrase goes. The train has left the station. But I feel like some people are throwing some rocks at the train to try to knock it off its rails. Hopefully that momentum of people doing that will continue, and folks will stay awake, and they'll stay plugged in, and they'll listen to voices like yours, et cetera.
Yeah, and the real bottom line is, I mean, obviously the past is the past and we can't do anything about it, but he never should have been allowed to move into our White House.
Nope.
He never should have been allowed to run for president again. He should have been in prison by the time it was time for him to run for president. And our system failed us.
Yeah.
And we have to hold that system accountable as well. And make sure that it never happens again. Make sure that there is never another situation like this. I mean, there will never be another candidate this despicable, I'm pretty convinced. And I think when this morbidly obese, dying pedophile with cankles who wears a diaper every day, I think when he passes away, which could be moments from now, I think this cult is going to kind of die with him. I don't think that there's anybody that can carry that fake gold-plated, orange-faced con man torch quite the way he can. And J.D. Vance is a con man. He wrote a book about being something he's not. He's changed his name 3 times. He wouldn't exist if a South African closeted billionaire hadn't put him in the game and groomed him, probably in every sense of the word. He's a con man, but he's like a kindergarten level con man compared to Donald Trump. I just don't think he can do it.
You know what I'll give Trump? I won't give him credit for, but I'll identify a quality that he has that J.D. Vance doesn't have, and not any of the Republicans who want to be like Trump, if they think they want to be like Trump, have. I will say that Donald Trump has a streak of ruthlessness in him, but in a very, ruthlessness can be a positive thing. I would dare say that some of the toughest professional athletes can be pretty ruthless, but in their private life, they're really nice folk. And they would, they would sit down on the ground with babies and puppies. Donald Trump's ruthlessness is destructive. J.D. Vance doesn't have that. He may think he does. He may think that he can be tough, but Donald Trump's ruthlessness is not toughness either. It's just a disregard for, people look up the word ruthlessness and look at the base word Ruth, or without Ruth, then you see why Donald Trump has been appealing, because he's drawn people to him that don't have the capacity to be that evil. Do you know what I mean? And I know you know what I mean. I shouldn't say that. I know you know what I mean. They don't have that capacity. And as a result, if someone else tries to step into those shoes, people are going to read through that and they're going to be turned off. So here's my question, Cliff. Donald Trump is out of the picture, however that happens. And I've got my thoughts about it. But he's out of the picture. Do you think that the, quote, MAGA voter, the MAGA supporter, the MAGA, mindset, you'll see a decrease in voter, not only participation, but even registration from that crowd? I don't know. What do you think?
I do. And I really think that we're already at a point where his support literally is the loud pickup truck with the flag on the back and the stickers on the glass and the hat, still wearing the hat. I think his support in a lot of ways with the average voter has dwindled down to where it's just those people. It's those people who bought the Trump Bible, who bought the Trump sneakers, who still think that he's sent by God and Jesus. I think that's all that's left. That and the very wealthy.
I was just going to ask you that.
Robber barons who think they're going to save 5% on their taxes and it's worth people dying for because they're despicable human beings. But, we know for sure, based on literally every poll that has been done recently, his support is lower than it was right after January 6th, which means it's lower than it was after COVID. It's lower than it was when he lost 20. So he's never been less popular, and he's the least popular president in U.S. history. And then we saw again with these special elections, just an absolute wipeout.
Yeah.
So my humble opinion is he's on the ropes, and now is not time for us as his opponents to take a water break. It's time for us to throw an uppercut.
Yeah.
And that's what this could be in D.C. this weekend. We know it's going to be big, but we need to make it huge. And so I'm just doing everything I can to do a last-minute push, especially to people within a short drive of D.C., especially Baltimore, especially Fredericksburg, Annapolis, Bethesda, Silver Spring, even Philly and Richmond. You can drive into the city and be part of this and have your body counted as one of the hopefully hundreds of thousands. And it matters because in a time when he's on the ropes and every issue he's involved in is kryptonite to him, especially Epstein.
Yeah.
His absolute worst nightmare right now is a massive turnout in Washington, D.C., and we need to be his worst nightmare.
For the progressives that need a movie analogy and a sports analogy that's really a documentary about what Cliff just said about when you've got somebody on the ropes, go watch the movie When We Were Kings. It's a 1999 documentary that was produced by Spike Lee about the Muhammad Ali-George Foreman fight in Africa in 1975. Go watch that movie if you need to be motivated to get off your behind and do something and be a participant in that knockout punch that Cliff just so well and appropriately described. Donald Trump is on the ropes right now. Yeah, he's still president. He's got a tremendous amount of power, unwielding power that needs to be restrained and reeled in. But he is on the ropes because of to what Cliff. If you missed it, everything he touches right now is problematic. Cliff used the word kryptonite, but everything he touches right now, and this Epstein is not a sideshow. It is not a sideshow, y'all. People want to pretend like, well, we got to deal with this. We got to deal with all of it. And the thing that is the big drag right now, the two things that are a big drag on him are the economy, i.e. tariffs, and how that tax is affecting people, and it's the holidays. And second to that, not second in importance, but meaning just how I'm enumerating them, are there's a conversation around the Epstein files. It's a big A deal, and we have to go ahead and make that punch, throw that punch. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and I'm talking with my good friend Cliff Cash, comedian and activist that is unapologetic about where he stands on what's happening, not just with this current administration, but our country at large, and what we've got to do, what we've got to take on and take back, so that cats like me and Cliff, who come from two different backgrounds, got two different shades of color on our skin, but know what's important to this country succeeding and doing what we got to do. And it's always a joy to have you on the show. It's always great to hear your voice. And I know that sometimes for you being out there like you are, it's not easy, but I applaud you for staying in the fight and trying to draw more people into the fight. Talk about what's happening with your event that's coming up.
So I've been heavily involved, specifically in D.C. My feeling has been for months that, and I kind of say this as my kind of go-to quote on the topic, it's really wonderful to be able to protest where you live, but it's time to protest where they live, and they live in Washington, D.C. And West Palm Beach. You know, I would love to have people go to Mar-a-Lago on the 22nd as well if you can't be in D.C. But our goal is, you know, the optics of a massive turnout in D.C. Unlike a lot of these national days of action, we do have a demand, and it's for impeachment, removal, and conviction of this illegal regime, not just this president, but all of these people are breaking the law daily. I mean, at least one of his appointees is lying, bold-faced lying to Congress literally every day. So they are breaking laws in their sleep. So what we're doing, you know, the main rally is November 22nd. It will be headlined by the Dropkick Murphys, a really incredible musician named Earth to Eve will also be on the show. You may know her for Threat Level Orange and the No King songs.
Right.
She's amazing. We're going to have speakers like myself, Michael Fanone, January 6 officers Michael Fanone and Harry Dunn will be on the lineup. Jessica Didson, a great candidate from Chicago named Kat, and remind me how to say her last.
Kat Abazela. Yeah. I get it wrong. I get it wrong sometimes too, man. So I just go Kat A.
I've written it, but I haven't said it. She's going to be joining us. I mean, it's going to be a really great rally. We have done this before and learned from the past, and so we feel like we have the right amount of speakers, the right speakers that are going to really light people's fires. We've got the music. And so that's the big day. But we also on Thursday are leading people into Congress. We plan to break the record for the number of citizens ever in the country led into Congress as citizen lobbyists. And then Friday on the 21st, we have a really awesome veterans rally happening. And then there are also events at night. There's a comedy show on Friday. There's a VIP meet and greet on Thursday. And there's a concert on Friday. And those nighttime events are basically raising funds to cover the cost of the daytime events. So it's kind of a freedom festival. You come for 3 days and nights. You can do political actions during the day, and you can actually enjoy yourself at night and be around like-minded people who feel the way you feel. Because that's one of the parts about fighting fascism is we all have to take care of ourselves and make sure they're not stealing our joy. We need to be around each other and enjoy each other's company and you know, dance and sing and be happy.
You know, that's such a great point, Cliff, and I'm glad that you landed on that the way that you did about not stealing our joy and being around folks that are like-minded. Listen, I know that there's a conversation that is to be had where people say, you know, you need to talk to the other folks and hear what they have to say and what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And I get that. I'm in agreement with that principle. But I want to start with the people that I'm like-minded with, for a couple of reasons. One of them is I want to hear what they have to say, even though we're like-minded, because it might be a little bit askew from what I'm thinking about something, but the end goal is to move us forward. The second reason is, I mean, selfishly, I want to be pumped up and aired up to be able to fight the people that don't necessarily think like I do or you do, to be able to combat their craziness in this moment. So I do recognize the importance of talking to the other folks, but I also go back to what you just said and the importance of being connected to like-minded folks. It just strengthens you. There's everything right about being around that crowd that fills you up. And it's kind of like why you know, when you're feeling a little crazy, if you're blessed to still have mom and dad around, or an uncle or an auntie or an older sibling, you want to go hang with them because they help you feel better. So, you know, that's just how 100%. I look at it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a big event. It's a lot going on. You've got, you know, you've been super busy, as I said at the opening, and you've got a lot on your plate. And maybe in December, well, I shouldn't say maybe, in December, we'll definitely have to have you back so we can talk a little bit more about this upcoming week and weekend, and then what else is going to be on your plate and where you might be touring in December as we wrap up the end of the year. But I wanted to ask you this question, and part of it is this sort of where do you see comedians fitting in this conversation? Last Friday, comedian and activist Dana Goldberg, who's a member of the LGBTQ community, was here in Chicago for a couple of shows. Got to hang out with her and other comedians that are really kind of, you know, taking a different approach, not a different approach, but approach that's right out there, unapologetic. You know, the comedian Godfrey, there's so many folks that are really speaking right now with a depth amount of humor, but also very politically savvy, which is kind of cool to see. What's the, where do you guys, it's maybe sounds to me an awkward question, not meant to be, but where do you see the place of comedians right now in these crazy moments that we're in?
I think comedians are most important when this type of tyranny is taking place, you know, and it's so many people on the right like to comment on my stuff and go, just stick to being a comedian. Nobody wants to hear your political views. Good comedy's not political. And I'm like, okay, well, make sure you tell that to literally everybody, from Lenny Bruce to George Carlin to Richard Pryor to Bill Hicks to Jon Stewart to, you know, I mean, all these people. Comedy definitely has a place in politics, and, you know, theoretically and hopefully, comedians should be some of the most fearless people in the country and on the scene, because you got to have thick skin to do what we do. I mean, you got to have thick skin to get up in front of a crowd who may not like what you have to say and say it anyway, and get boos and, you know, have tough nights and bomb and grow that craft. You have to have thick skin, and I'm so proud of every other comedian who is speaking up, even if they don't do political comedy, but they just get on social media and say, hey, for the record, I'm one of the people that does not agree with what's happening, and I'm going to use my voice this way. Whatever it is, comedians have to speak up. And as proud as I am of the ones who are, I'm at least that disappointed in the ones who aren't. Because I know a lot of my peers feel the exact same way that I do, perhaps with a little less intensity. And some of them aren't saying a word. Best I can tell, they're not saying anything on stage, and I can tell for sure they're not saying anything off stage because I follow them on social media.
Right.
And I'd like to say to any comedian listening, doing the right thing is not going to be bad for your career. Doing the wrong thing may not kill your career, but it's not going to breathe any life into it. A lot of people are concerned about, well, I don't want to lose half my supporters. I don't want to lose half the country. First of all, it's not half. He only won a third of the vote, and a lot of that wasn't real, in my humble opinion, and now he's the least popular president in the history of our country. So the only people you have to worry about losing support of are the people who support the least popular president in U.S. history. But you could gain a lot of support from people who go, man, I really respect this person for standing up and standing on their values and speaking truth to power.
Yeah, and that second part is why I think many of us do that. One of my good friends and colleagues here, WCPT, and I are both in our other lives, if you will, financial advisors. And people have said, well, you guys take a really strong political position to the left, center and left. What are you worried about losing clients over that? And we both have said if we lose those people because of where we take a stand on issues that matter to all of us, then we probably shouldn't have been working with them in the first place. So it's a different venue, but the same tenor as it relates to you in comedy and the folks that you make that observation of. So, Cliff, man, listen, it's always we have just this great connection because I believe in what you're doing and support what you're doing, and you're out there, and it's so powerful what you've done, and that's why I wanted to have some time to try to amplify it a little bit this morning. I hope we got a little bit of that done, and I want to definitely reach out to you now or say it now that let's have you back on in December so we can talk about how things went this week and then what you're going to be trying to wrap the year up with. Does that sound okay?
Absolutely. And to just remind people, this is not just a protest. This is not some toothless kumbaya in the park. We are going to march. You won't know until you get there, but we are going to march. Our presence will be felt. We are going literally into their offices to tell them fascism fails, and when it fails, the people that enabled it will be held accountable. We're demanding the release of the Epstein files. This is in your face, making Nazis nervous. And if you're anywhere near D.C., we need you to drive into the city and be part of it.
Fantastic. Cliff Cash, y'all. Thanks for being with us, brother. Glad you're well. Stay strong this week, and maybe we touch base over the week and the beginning of next week. I got to check in on you, make sure that you survived everything that you're about to launch on these folks there. So hang tough, man, and we will talk soon, okay?
RemoveTheRegime.com.
RemoveTheRegime.com, guys. That's where you got to go. That's where you got to be a part of. Thanks, Cliff. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
You too, man. Bye now. All right, let's take a quick break, Devin. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Hey, honey, what are you doing?
Studying for a math test.
You want some acupuncture?
Acupuncture can help with tests?
Yeah, that was the subject of my published doctoral work. My research showed that one acupuncture treatment before a test improves memory by 9.5%.
That's almost a whole letter grade higher.
And it reduced procedural errors by 36%. That's all from one treatment. Additional treatments help more.
Wow, I want some of that.
I have patients who will come in before final exams, SATs, MCATs, and other tests. And we've seen this technique help older folks with things like dementia and Alzheimer's.
Can I get acupuncture too? I have a vocabulary test coming up.
Acupuncture can help remedy problems, but it can also help a healthy person perform even better. Come see us at Chicago Community Acupuncture at Milwaukee, Devon, and Nagel. Call us at 773-853-0920, 773-853-0920, or what's the website, girls?
Chikumaku.com.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish, at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered rain showers here for today with cloudy skies and temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the east around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, cloudy skies and temperatures still hold steady. By Wednesday, mostly cloudy, high 46 degrees. Thursday, a slight chance for some rain showers, cloudy. We'll see high around 56. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 39.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks to Cliff for being with us. And the events are taking place this weekend. Some of you would ask me the November or December, and it's this month, so just FYI. But you can go to Cliff Cash's website, Cliff Cash Comedy, and find out a bunch of information there. Google him, and then you can plug into the regime change work that they're doing, and fighting, and not being worried about who's going to say anything about what they're fighting for. I mean, we have our next guest is someone that is in that same vein, that could care but doesn't really care, kind of, sort of, what people say about what she thinks about a few things, and more importantly, is out there doing the good work to fight against the cruelty of this regime, to fight against the cruelty of this administration and its effect on so many millions of people in the U.S., but also, frankly, people throughout the globe. Who am I talking about? Award-winning human rights advocate, speaker, publisher of the internationally recognized, and I always get this right, Oblog D, Oblog Da, and best known for combating anti-Semitism, homophobia, and criminalization of the LGBTQI community. Who am I talking about? Melanie Nathan. Good morning, Melanie, and welcome again to Choose Views on WCPT.
Thank you so much, Richard. I really appreciate being here. I had so much fun talking to you last time, even though it was a heavy topic.
Yeah, we both did. And I mean, and I guess sometimes, as Cliff, who was just on before, who's a comedian and activist, said, you know, the heavy topics sometimes are softened a little bit with humor and with some laughter. And I'm not comedic in any stretch of the imagination. Don't try to be. Humor has helped me a lot. But most importantly, I try to make people feel good about themselves. And if I can do that, then I think that we can find a way to make things happen and make things better. So you're absolutely right. In our last segment when you were on, you and I laughed and chuckled a lot about some tough things that we were all dealing with. How you been doing? How have you been doing?
You know, that's a really kind question.
I want to know. I'm serious.
It has not been easy. This administration has taken away so much from the human rights framework that many of us are working to pro bono. You know, we work pro bono. Mm-hmm. But when everything's pro bono, because you just can't turn your back on stuff, right? Life becomes difficult. And I think it's kind of purposeful. When you are targeting a specific community, for example, asylum seekers or anybody, any immigrant for that matter, when you're targeting them and you want to win the Trump way of winning, which is not a fair way of winning, then what do? You take away things from people that would really be part of the due process and help in the fight. So whereas an administration such as the Biden or Obama administrations would prop up people's defense, here you have a situation where you're not only targeting people most often unfairly, mm-hmm. but you're also taking away the mechanisms and the funding and all the things that help these people who have these rights to defend themselves. And this is really causing hardship.
Without a doubt. And I wrote down the phrase that's used often, flooding the zone. And right now, the Trump administration, the Trump regime, this clown in the White House is using all the tools that they can to flood the zone, to flood the communities that need help with two things. One, attack, and at the same time, take away, to your point, in terms of taking away the support systems and mechanisms that
Right.
are so needed in those communities that then get targeted. And it's really, Melanie, this is a thing that for me, it becomes one of the things that becomes so it does anger me, and that is, you pick on someone that has, quote, lesser than you, and then then you turn around and try to pretend like you're going to run into your place of faith on Sunday, i.e. church, and raise your hand to God. But during the other 6 days, you were causing all this hell and carnage to the same people that if you believe in Scripture, whatever it might be, whichever religious group you ascend to, but it's hypocrisy. You want to demonize the people that are less than, quote, and then turn around on Sunday and ask for forgiveness for that same action. It's just craziness. And I don't just blame the administration. People that listen to my show know this. I put that in the laps of the electorate, and particularly those who voted for this craziness, because they said that they knew better or knew more than the Melanie Nathans of the world or the Richard Cheers of the world or the Cliff Classes of the world. But in fact, if they did, they sure as hell didn't act on that knowledge, Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of, what you're talking about, and it speaks a lot to all of what's going on, because let's face facts. Project 2025 is the architects of Project 25, or everybody who's got their hands in it, are from the evangelical crowd, and the evangelical crowd are the ones who have propped Trump up in a very big way and helped him get elected. It reminds me of this. You go to a country like Uganda, and you're an evangelical, and so you're touting your Christianity. You're talking to a guy like President Museveni, who says Uganda, even though there's freedom of religion, Uganda is a Christian nation. That's how he describes it. So the American evangelicals go there, and they start talking about how gays should not exist. Mm-hmm. And it's really in some way genocidal talk. And then what ends up happening from all this preaching and all this going on is the Kill the Gays bill. Mm-hmm. And this is the Anti-Homosexuality Act that's been passed twice, 2014 and 2023, and it's now enacted. And it survived the test of the courts. So now you have the death penalty for so-called aggravated homosexuality. And it's the evangelicals, the right to life people, that did that. And here's the part, to your point, Richard, here's the interesting part of this. When they go there to a country like Uganda, and there are 54 African countries, most of where this is happening, they build schools, they build orphanages, they build libraries, and they do all the smushy, lovely stuff. And it disguises this insidious anti-human rights, anti-human being stuff, to your point. So it's like going to church on Sunday, because look at me. It's worse than hypocrisy. It's a cover.
It is. My father is the one that, I've told this story to people that know me. And, my father and I had this conversation when I was 15 years old. And, it was Sunday and getting prepared to go to church. And I walked into my parents' bedroom and I said to my father, I said, Dad, I don't feel like I'm learning anything or getting anything from going. And he literally turned to me and said, well, then you don't have to go. He says, because if you've said that now, I know you're not trying to escape going to church. He said, then you're feeling a little bit hypocritical in yourself. And I said, I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, I guess you're right. And that's been with me since I was 15, Melanie, and thank goodness for my father being able to see that and help me kind of guide myself. And then, I made my way back to spirituality over the years. But the one thing I've tried not to be is a hypocrite. I'm a guy that curses and says bad things and has crazy thoughts about things. But at the end of the day, I come back to, I don't want to be a hypocrite when it comes to taking care of people. I don't want to be a hypocrite when it comes to people's rights and their freedoms and making sure that they're viable in this world that we live in. And so I appreciate you going to the depths of it and saying that the evangelical mindset in America and its connection to other, not just in countries in Africa, but other countries throughout the world is become insidious, and it's a big part of why we have this craziness. Because to your point, Project 2025 has got a bunch of evangelical Christian ethos in it, and it is a hugely dangerous document. But the people behind it are 10 times worse than the document itself.
And also, I think it's really important to note this, Richard, that this is not attacking Christianity as a religion. You know, I'm not a Christian. This is not attacking the religion, because there are, what, for want of a better term, it's not for me to pronounce judgment on anyone. There are people who really walk the talk, you know, and probably there's a good chance that many of those people, that might even be the majority, but they're a silent majority, and that's not okay. If you are, for want of a better term, that good Christian, where are you?
Yeah.
You're that good Christian.
Cliff just talked about, sorry about that. Cliff just talked about this in terms of comedians. He said, if you're a comedian and you're not using your voice right now, you're being silent because you're worried about losing half of your audience. He said, I got a problem with that. And you just put that same litmus test, if you will, to Christianity. And keep going. I'm sorry, Melanie. I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
No, I really appreciate that. You know, it's I think, look, we have to face facts. There's a lot of fear. But when you are in dire straits and it's life or death for some people, you have to let go of your fear and you have to suffer the consequences. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like last time you and I spoke, we spoke about Zohran Mamdani.
Right.
And we spoke about him not coming out on the Kill the Gays bill. And I wrote an article subsequent to that, and I included another very important factor, and I do have an open letter out to him now that he's mayor-elect. He now has even a stronger urgency and a bigger duty, in my opinion, to come out against the Kill the Gays bill, but even more so, he holds a passport to this country, and Yoweri Museveni's been an autocratic dictator for 40 years with extreme oppression that we never hear about. Uganda has financial interests in New York City, just like every country, because it's such a global city, you know. Now, Mamdani's speaking out against other countries. He needs to come out and speak about the country where he was born and where he holds citizenship. And that's not to demonize the people of that country. It's to call out the government of that country. And he's going to have to do that. He's just going to have to do that. And it's the same thing. You can't be silent when, you know, if you want to say Trump is an autocrat, Trump wants to wear a crown, all the things we're saying about Trump, you want to push back against Trump, you have to be consistent. You cannot be duplicitous and allow others, you know, you've got to be really morally clear.
A lot of people get caught up in what they're going to lose, Melanie, rather than what they're going to gain and who's going to gain from them speaking out. And I think that that's where right now, if we were to make this a conversation about partisan politics in the United States, the one thing that's clear is that the GOP, the Republican Party, on a full scale, I don't mean just, you know, the White House, the administration, the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, or part of the Supreme Court, but all Republicans in the United States right now have a responsibility. If they say that, if what they say is what they believe, they have a responsibility to fix this.
Absolutely.
They have, and I mean that on a local level for someone running for, you know, the head of the school board. If you're not speaking out against what this party is doing right now, then you are failing the country. And there's no, I don't mince words over that anymore. I tried to be, and I've, you know, not that this is really important, but I will state this. I've had people criticize me for saying, well, you always criticize the right. Yeah, I do, because the right is how we got here. Now, we know that the left has got their issues, and I don't run from that. But the people that have been the dominant force of hurt in this country right now, let's just say the last 10 to 20 years in America, is the Republican Party. And so we have to be courageous enough to speak to that without fear of losing anything, because we're already losing. If you know what I mean? It's sort of like, well, I'll take a 10-point loss versus a 1-point loss. You still lost. You know, I want to win. So to win, we have to speak out, Melanie Nathan.
Right. And you know what? The Republican Party has lost the Republican Party. We know that.
Yep.
It's no longer the Republican Party. You know, as a staunch Democrat and probably left-leaning of center.
Say that again. Say that again.
Left-leaning of center. In other words, I'm like grappling, you know, given so much of what's been going on. But I have watched, you know, I immigrated to this country in 1985, and I've watched what's happened from Reagan to now. And there was so much I detested about the Republican Party that I would gladly bring back. Do you know what I mean? What I mean?
I totally do.
And so what I marvel at, and recently it really hit me harder, was the fact that I thought to myself, you know, Trump is really, this is a bad dude. You know, he's got all these malfunctions and whatever's going on with him. But what really, really struck me is that America, that they were duped and they voted for him. And what we need to get beyond Trump and get into the root of what's wrong with America.
Thank you.
That could put us in this position. And it's twofold. It's threefold. It's education. Mm-hmm. It's a people thing. It's a cultural thing that we have to look at. And also it's a system thing. Mm-hmm. So we cannot come out of this, and we will come out of this, but we cannot come out of this and not change what got us here.
Agreed. We're talking with Melanie Nathan. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Melanie Nathan, who is become my new award-winning human rights advocate, speaker, and publisher of the internationally recognized blog, Oblog Oblog Da, and someone that's just a fighter. And I love, take this the right way, Melanie, I love accumulating fighters in my crowd because we all are going to fight at a different level and fight in a different way. But at the end of the day, our objective, I believe, is to get us to a better place, a place where people have peace and humanity and they have dignity and all the things that we say we believe in. And going back to my Sunday church to Monday through Saturday, analogy, if we believe in that stuff, irrespective of what our faith is, then we need to act on it. We need to speak up about it. We need to stop holding back our powder when it comes to being an activist and being involved in the fight. And Melanie, you've been a real champion of that, and that's why I'm proud to have you on the show. What's happening for you these next, as we're in this, last 6 weeks of 2025? What are you working on, and then what are you kind of, looking to for 2026?
Yeah. So in October of this year, there was the presidential determination of how many refugees get to come into the country. And usually, like for Obama and Biden presidencies, it was like 125,000. We could have accommodated 250,000. Mm-hmm. And these are very, very productive, important people, not only from the perspective of human rights and protection, but what they contribute to our country. Trump has cut that down. And when he did his determination this October, he came up with 7,500 people. That's how many he's letting in the country. And then you know what he did? He abandoned the resettlement of 120,000 pre-vetted, pre-approved real refugees who'd gone through so much process to get to that point. Now, for me, moving into the new year, the pipeline is jammed. And also problematic is that there is no money, because he's withdrawn USA, there's no money to care for and shelter and provide food and everything that is so needed for the refugees and I'm only talking about the African continent.
Mhm.
My constituents, the people that I work with, are LGBTQ who are criminalized in over 30 of the 54 African countries. And when they become a refugee in another country, say from Uganda to Kenya, Kenya will equally, instead of protecting, Kenya will equally be hostile in the same way as Uganda was. So people are literally jumping from the fire into the frying pan. So they need civil society like African Human Rights Coalition to come, and there are others, to come in and provide much needed humanitarian services, food, shelter, all this kind of thing, because Trump has caused this backup. So not only were we dealing with all of this before, but it's quadrupled now. And it's just, we've got people sleeping on the streets in countries where they are illegal to be there, but they desperately need to be there, and where UNHCR protection cannot accommodate them. They cannot accommodate the LGBT because the governments, such as Kenya, Zambia, Malawi, are refusing to Senegal, I can name more, are refusing to register the LGBT people. So they are in limbo. They can't get the services, the very few services. So what am I doing next year? Well, this year, the rest of the year, I'm asking people to help. I'm looking for, I want to give Christmas meals. And we can't, every year we've given Christmas meals. This year we can't even give Christmas meals. We can barely give meals. So it's dire. It's a dire situation for Africa's LGBT community right now. And there's not a lot of people in the space, and there's not a lot of funding in the space. We have been lucky enough to have some corporations come forward and write a nice check in the past, and we're hoping for more of that this year. And, you know, the next 6 weeks is going to be a scramble to really just try and shift things a little bit. But we need pathways opened, we need money, and to what Trump has done to make this even worse, and if you're not angry enough yet, is he has replaced all these people who've gone through major persecution, violence, and years of vetting with the white South African, Afrikaner architects of apartheid, or certainly their ancestors were, or certainly they benefited from it. And they are literally sitting on their couches talking to each other on Facebook, saying, how are we going to get in? How are you applying? Blah, blah, blah. It circumvents the real refugee and exploits the real refugee pathways and creates a whole expedited immigration subset that really shouldn't exist because it goes around the law and cheats on the law. And these people are actually shipping their furniture to America, whereas the 120,000 who've been approved and waiting literally have the shirts on their back. And
they're stuck in limbo now because of this. And this is where I said earlier and talked about the importance of having the right people in place for policy. Our move in the United States, our moves in the United States they impact so many other places throughout the globe. And I'm just so thankful that there's people like you, Melanie, who stay in the fight and bring this awareness to us. We run out on time every time we get together, but you know, I'm glad we're able to at least have a brief conversation to bring attention to something that is near and dear to your heart and near and dear to us as global citizens to make things so much better. Why don't we try to find a way, maybe after the new year, because I know these next 6 weeks you're going to be super busy, but maybe when we get into early 2026, we have you back on so we can chat about some things that you're working on and how things may play out over these next 6 weeks. Does that sound okay?
Sounds wonderful, Richard. I look forward to it. And I so appreciate you. I cannot thank you enough.
Well, thank you for the work that you're doing. And it's a partnership. So we just keep fighting and shouldering up and working together. How can folks find you, Melanie, as we break away?
Yeah. So the website is africanhrc.org. That's the African Human Rights Coalition website, and we definitely have a donation page on there, or just take a look at what we're doing and spread the word. That is so meaningful, and if you can bring that to your ERG groups in your corporations. Even that is huge. Writing to us and telling us you love and support us is good enough too.
Melanie, Nathan, thanks for being with us this morning. Keep smiling. I'm going to keep making you laugh and all the rest. But thanks for being with us and have a great, safe week, okay?
Thank you so much, Richard. You too. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. All right, guys, what can I tell you? We made it again. Thanks for being with us this morning, and appreciate all of our guests, Cliff Cash, Melanie, and Lucera, for being able to hang with us. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thursday, November 27th. Hey, that's Thanksgiving Day. Tune to WCPT from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Sports Cubicle Live Thanksgiving Extravaganza. We're going to be breaking down all the NFL games, touching on the hottest sports stories, discovering what Thanksgiving food is the best, and maybe a special guest or two.